come here to chew bubblegum.
You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum, recorded from a secret location in the city that moves mountains.
Greetings.
We come in peace.
My name is Goose.
I'm Crunka.
And you are listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum on 104.9 WXLR.
How exciting is that?
That is very, very exciting.
Does that it just tingles when you say 104.9?
WXLR.
WXLR.
It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
Mine too.
For those of you that are new to the show, we have been doing this show since about November. We do it, it is a podcast that has broke, I guess, big time, you can say.
Yeah.
It's breaking big time.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting more and more traction.
Yes. For those of you that are familiar with the late, great Art Bell, who had a show on Coast to Coast AM and Midnight in the Desert, he talked about UFOs, time travel, other dimensions, paranormal, what else?
Just anything unexplained, really.
Yes, anything unexplained, X-Files related, and we hope to have his memory live on through our show, Here to Chew Bubblegum.
We hope that we make Art Bell proud.
Exactly. If you want more information, you can check out our website, heretochewbubblegum.com. You can also listen to us on the following platforms: iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Like I said, we have been doing this since November, and we have listeners all over the globe.
That's crazy. 2 hicks. Got listeners from everywhere.
Speak for yourself, man. I'm sophisticated.
Salutations.
Greetings.
Okay.
We come in peace. That was me doing you.
Okay. I couldn't tell if it was like Tom Hanks or whoever.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah, I feel like you've done a Tom Hanks.
Jenny.
Yeah, see? It's
I am not a smart man.
It's the same thing.
Jenny. It is not the same thing.
It's the same.
No, it's not. If you want to contact us, that is very easy to do. Tell our listeners how they can contact the show, Cronkite.
Well, you can call, text, leave a voicemail.
That we may play on the show.
Yes.
Keep it clean.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. At least PG-13-ish.
Yeah. You can take your top off when we record. Go ahead.
Right, it'll be fine. Okay, so 606-373-3396. Now, that is if you want to leave a voicemail, call, or text us. You can also email us. You can email Goose at heretochewbubblegum.com, or myself, Cronkite, that's CRONKITE at heretochewbubblegum as well. Now, we do have a Facebook page where you can message, comment, do whatever on that as well. We'll also respond to that. But we also have 2 other gents with us.
Yes, Ned and Elliott. They're not here right now.
And you can always email those 2 as well.
Yes.
Here to chewbubblegum at yahoo.com. Just attention Ned or Elliott, depending on which one you want to talk to.
Yeah. Now, Ned is kind of the creepy guy that just hangs out with us. He started off as our janitor. He's currently our producer. You can tell he's busy out making deals because he's not here today. Elliott does Elliots Articles. That's a segment that we include in our show, and you will be hearing that later on in this show.
Absolutely fantastic little segment.
Very, very good. Back in, was it the end of January, 1st of February, where we'd actually saw something unexplained in Pikeville. We were at different parts in town.
Yeah, I believe it was in February, because it's not been that long ago. I think it was the 1st of February.
The first part of February. So it was on a Friday night. I get this text from Cronkite, and he tells me to go look up in the sky. He sees these lights. I go look up in the sky out in my backyard, and I see what he's talking about. Plus, I see another set, and then I look and see another set. And you only saw 2 sets, right?
I only saw 2.
2. I saw 3, and they were appeared to me to be each different ships or whatever they were. And after a few minutes, it's like somebody turned the lights out.
Now, what's strange is last summer I seen the same thing. Actually, when I was doing some Randonautica.
Well, see, I've never got to play Randonautica,
Well,
so
we're going to do that soon. But the gosh, man, I went and blew my ear out just now. These mics are awesome.
-1 listener.
So the we're talking about the Randonautica and the lots. So the things that we saw and the reason that we kind of thought it was a UAP or UFO is because, we know what a star looks like when it twinkles. This was not a star. This was blue, green, white, red, alternating lights.
Exactly.
In very rapid succession. And it was very interesting to see. Very bright, very luminous. And I thought, well, at first, it could be a helicopter because we live in an area where there's a lot of helicopter traffic. But a helicopter flew by. There's no way that's a helicopter. There's no way that's a helicopter.
No, that's the first time I'd actually saw anything since like '96. So I got really, really excited.
It was very cool.
It was really, really cool. Some early UFO reports. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
Okay. Now, we're just briefly going to mention some of these, and to get our listeners familiar with things we discuss and we talk about. August 12th, 1883.
That was when you were born, wasn't it?
Oh, good one.
It was a good year, right?
Good one. 1883 was a good year, let me tell you. But on August 12th, 1883, Jose Bonella reported that he saw more than 300 unidentified objects crossing the sun disk while observing a sunspot activity at an observatory in Mexico. He was able to take several photographs exposing wet plates at 1/100th of a second. It was subsequently determined later that the objects were high-flying geese.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Why did you look so sad?
Because I was very upset that it's just geese.
We not only tell about real stories, we tell if people's fake, and we'll talk about those.
Yeah.
Now, this one, and in the second part of the show, we'll talk about this one a little bit more. 1896 to 1897, mystery airships spotted over the United States. Have you ever heard about this?
Mm-mm.
Numerous reports of UFO sightings and attempted abductions took place in the United States in that 2-year period, and people reported mystery airships. Now, like I said, there is one of those that's during that time period that is related to Kentucky, and we'll talk about that later on in the show.
Oh, yeah? I think I know where you're going with that.
Where? I'm going to later on in the show when we...
Looking up into the sky and stuff.
Yes.
I got you. I'm right there with you.
You are a smart man. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that. April 17th, 1897 in Aurora, Texas, and we've talked about this one in the past. The incident became known as the Aurora UFO Incident.
Now, is this the very first documented UFO in the U.S.? When was the first UFO documented in the U.S.?
In the U.S.?
Yeah.
It was in the 1880s.
I knew it was right around that time.
Yeah, it was like 1886, I think.
Okay.
But the April 17th, 1897, Aurora, Texas, a tale of a crashed UFO and burial of its alien pilot in the local cemetery was sent to newspapers in Dallas and Fort Worth in April of 1897 by local correspondent S.E. Hayden. And we've talked about that one on the show before.
Yeah, this is the one where the farmer... maybe he wasn't the original farmer. Maybe he was the next property owner.
Yeah, there was like a judge involved too.
Yeah, he was trying to clean the well out where they supposedly buried this craft, and he ended up with crippling arthritis.
Yes, arthritis. In 1909, mystery airships continued in New Zealand. Several people reported strange moving lights and some solid bodies in the sky. They were seen elsewhere in New Zealand and reported to newspapers. So, mystery airships. Second story. We'll have a third one coming up later on in the show. That was actually spotted in our state, the greatest state in the United States.
Which one's that?
The Bluegrass state of Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
So
I know where that's at.
this one is in the early 40s, but you've talked about this. I know this is one of your favorite. February 24th, 1942, the Battle of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Unidentified aerial objects trigger the firing of thousands of anti-aircraft rounds and raise alarms to wartime alert status. Now, that one, the Battle of Los Angeles. What's your take on that?
It's the height of wartime. Pearl Harbor literally happened in December of 41. So, I mean, of course, everyone is on high alert. So, yeah, I mean, I think the official story was a bomber or something like that was one of ours was flying around and it triggered, air raid sirens and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like you would know if one of your own planes. But now we are talking in the 40s when radar was just just very much just a not near as complex and sophisticated as it is today.
As it is today, correct. Now, could you just imagine all the technology, like in 1942, to push a button and trigger other aircrafts to, start shooting rounds? I mean, we didn't even have television at that time. I don't think, did we? We had radio.
Yeah, I don't know about the television. I don't know when that was invented.
I don't think we had television in 1942.
Well, I know I certainly didn't. I wasn't born then, but I mean, you were what, 30 or 40 at that point, were you? You were an old man then.
You are on a roll today. On a roll, petting that beard.
Mm-hmm. Is this where I should fill in airtime while you're researching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, actually there was television. September 7th, 1927. Sorry. So I didn't think there was.
It probably was. I mean, it was probably one of those things like not everyone had one.
Well, see, the first mass-produced television set was an RCA 630TS and was sold in 1946 and 1947. So it did exist, but it wasn't mainstream until like 20-some years later.
Right.
So, see, I was kind of right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and if I've not told you where we're on the air, radio stations hate dead air. So if you see me pause and you pick up and run with it.
What should I say?
Whatever comes to mind.
That's probably not a good idea.
We're going to move on and talk about some recent UFO Kentucky sightings. Now, these are reports that have been reported to MUFON. And tell us what MUFON is.
MUFON is the, I forget what the acronym is, but essentially it's the
Mutual Unidentified Flying Object Network.
Well, if you knew, why didn't you say it?
I don't really know if that's what it is. I just started spatting out words.
Essentially, they're an investigative, not regulatory, but an investigative, pretty much archive service, and they have investigators in the field all over the country. They're probably the most organized group of UFO investigators in the country. And you can see, that they have. They archive all of the sightings and crashes and whatever, anything UFO related, and it's pretty cool little setup.
You stumbled through that quite well, my friend.
Thank you. I was doing my best.
Do you want to read one?
Okay, so in October 16th of 2012, do you know what we want to talk about here?
Which one?
Pike County, Kentucky.
Oh, is that the first one?
It is the first one.
Okay. We can briefly discuss that.
Okay.
And we will talk about this one in future episodes of the show as well.
Okay. So on October 16th, 2012, Pike County, Kentucky, an amateur astronomer in eastern Kentucky observed a UFO that he described as like two fluorescent bulbs side by side, parallel, shining very brightly. It would get so bright that they would seem to merge, and you could see it very clearly with the naked eye, he said. Then it would dim down to almost invisible. It wasn't anything I recognized, definitely not an airplane, and I've never seen a helicopter that looked like that. Others in the area reported seeing the same craft, and despite making the national news, government officials could offer no explanations at the time. The UFO has since been explained as a test flight of a solar-powered internet balloon. But why didn't anybody know about it? Because it wasn't a solar-powered internet balloon.
Now, we have talked about this on the show, and you know, I have a friend that works in technology. Internet balloons did exist back then, but they weren't very common. And they didn't start testing internet balloons till like 2017 or 18. Okay. So that's why, number one, I don't believe that was an internet balloon.
Right.
Number two, if they were going to be doing this, and I've read up on this, if you're going to test a internet balloon, if your area has a local airport, if your area has a local airport, they are supposed to legally, through the FAA, notify that they're doing internet balloon test. This did not happen. There is no report on file. They're also supposed to put out word ahead of time. Hey, if you see a strange object, you know, next week on Saturday, we're testing our internet balloon.
Right.
That did not happen. You know, in cases where UFOs have been spotted, there's always, it's either, like you said earlier, swamp gas, a weather balloon.
Right.
And in this case, they did actually move technology and say it was an internet balloon. Now, what an internet balloon is, in rural areas, and this was before Elon Musk and his SpaceX and worldwide internet and all this, these balloons are supposed to give Wi-Fi or internet to people in rural areas. But like I said, the technology did exist in 2012, but they didn't start testing them until 4 to 5 years later. So
now, have they since stopped testing these things since?
No,
they're
still testing them.
So Starlink is supposed to go put these things out of not necessarily.
From what I understand, the internet balloons are Google. Starlink is, you know, Tesla, Elon Musk.
Right.
So, like two different companies, kind of like the old Microsoft and AOL email.
Well, it seems like a very strong thunderstorm would push your internet away.
It does, doesn't it? So you're actually saying you don't believe the internet balloon theory?
I don't know. I think that would be if we had internet in 1847, I could see that being an internet balloon. But we're in a technological. We have Starlink satellites,
right?
You know what I mean. We have radio that we have satellite radio. We have radio that our cars pick up the radio anywhere in the country, in some parts of the world. I think that doesn't make any sense to me. Why it's a balloon. It has to be light.
Yes.
So it can float, right?
Yes.
So why would you think that would work? That doesn't make any sense to me.
No. I mean, and if they were going to do it in our area, they would notify the airport here in Pike County. They would notify the airport in Floyd County. And, does Letcher County have an airport now?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Probably.
But, I mean, they would notify these people and put the word out. Plus, this was cigar-shaped. So it's what they call a tube UFO.
Well, no, yeah, I remember seeing on USA Today, because I wasn't living in this area at the time, and I do remember seeing on the front page of the paper, USA Today or New York Post or something like that. It was a picture of this thing,
right?
But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about the internet balloon. I mean, if anybody out there knows anything about them, I don't know anything about them, but I just seem like the wind would blow your internet away, and that doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're supposed to keep it tethered to the ground too when they let it up, so it can only go. It's not like they're letting it loose and.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, obviously, I understand that, but what I'm saying is like, wouldn't that all of the movement that would not be a sufficient design, correct?
Right. Maybe it wasn't a windy day that day.
But no. What I'm saying is like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to make something like this because why would you call it an internet balloon when it would not make sense to have it?
What they do is they like I said, they're rural areas, even like Georgetown, Lexington, farm country. They test these. They put them up just to test them, and I do not remember what the purpose of these were. But if any of our listeners do remember the October 16, 2012 Pike County UFO sighting, please contact us. You can call, text, or leave a voicemail that we will play on the show. Keep it clean. 606-373-3396. That's 606-373-3396. We're running out of time before we have to take a break really quick. But before we do, I want to mention October 20th, 2012, Paris, Kentucky. A UFO was recorded over Paris, Kentucky on October 20th, 2012. It was also reported to the MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. Hey, what do you think about that? The witnesses stated that they observed a nearby circular patch of ground approximately 14 feet in diameter. The grass was dead, the soil was discolored, and there was a strange orange tint on the rocks in the center. Now, that one was just a few days after, 4 days after the one in Pike County. I'm going to do some more research on this one to find out if this was a UFO triangle shaped or if it was a cigar tube shaped. If it was cigar tube shaped, this could be connected to the Pike County sighting.
Definitely. So, it could be somebody lost their internet too and crashed into the Lexington area.
Could be, or they could have been petting their beard the whole time. We're going to step away and take a break and introduce you guys to some of our sponsors, and we'll have Elliots Articles. And when we come back after the break, we have an insider email. And I'll explain more about that. We're going to talk about the Mantell UFO incident. We're going to talk about the Bluegrass Triangle and the Kentucky Airship mystery.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum on
WXLR 104.9.
We'll be right back.
Movie fan? Yeah, I dig horror movies. Are you searching for a great internet horror talk radio show to listen to? Why, sure, that sounds quite spiffy. Then you need to tune into Deadpit.com. It's the original horror talk radio show. Deadpit is a show by the fans and for the fans. Uncensored and unbiased opinions are the goal of the show, giving fans honest reviews on new films and vintage classics of the horror genre. Make Deadpit.com your #1 horror station destination.
You can always call, text, or leave a voicemail for Here to Chew Bubblegum. 606-373-3396. You can also send an email to goose@heretotchewbubblegum.com or cronkite@heretotchewbubblegum.com.
Do you have a Roku device? Do you want to escape the everyday? Then download the Edge TV. That is the Edge TV on your Roku device, spelled capital T, capital H, #3. Let James, Stacy, Greg, and the rest of the gang keep you entertained. The Edge TV, available now on Roku.
Researching the inner workings of the net to bring you stories of the strange and unusual. It's Elliots Articles on Here to Chew Bubblegum. Take it away, Elliott.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening. This is Elliott with Elliots Articles on the Here to Chew Bubblegum show. Now, most of you all who listen know that we are always looking into UFO encounters, especially in the great state of Kentucky. And one of the lesser-known cases actually involves a UFO over the city of Louisville. Yep, that's right, over the city of Louisville. Now, what I'm getting ready to talk to you about, it can be found in the Louisville Courier-Journal, the Thursday, March 4th, 1993 edition. UFO puts on a show. Jefferson police officers describe close encounter. This article was written by Gardner Harris, a staff writer for the Courier-Journal. Two Jefferson County Air Unit police officers, described by their lieutenant as solid guys, swear that they had a 2-minute dogfight with a UFO during a routine helicopter patrol Friday night. Two officers on the ground said that they too spotted the object. The UFO, a glowing pear-shaped object about the size of a basketball, literally flew circles around the helicopter. Even though the flyers say that they were moving at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour. In one blinding moment, when both craft were hurtling toward each other, the UFO shot 3 baseball-sized fireballs out of its middle. All 3 officers said. The fireballs fizzled into nothing. Officers Kenny Graham and Kenny Downs hadn't talked much about their Friday night flight over General Electric Appliance Park because they fear few will believe them, but they are convinced that they were not hallucinating. We both go to church every week, Downs said, in a way of explaining how normal the two normally are. In fact, I might start going to church twice a week. Officer Mike Smith, in his squad car below, said he saw the object for only about a minute, but he confirmed the UFO shot 3 fireballs into the air and then disappeared. Officer Joe Smolinski said he tried for more than a minute to catch up to the object in his squad car. I've been looking for him for 14 years, and I guess this is the closest I've come to something I couldn't explain. Lieutenant David Pope was roused out of bed at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, folks, this is a very, very strange case. And he was aroused out by a call from the startled officers, attested to their sanity and sincerity. These guys are totally solid guys, Pope said. There's no doubt in my mind that there was something out there. The night started out like every other night. Graham and Downs got to work around 6 p.m. and were soon in the air flying a routine patrol. Graham, 39, an 11-year veteran, was the pilot. Downs, 39, and a 5-year veteran, was the spotter. While in the air, they received a call about a possible break-in near Sanford Avenue and Bushel Bank Road. They flew off and quickly reached the area, which is near the northeast corner of Appliance Park, around 11:50 p.m. As they circled, Graham saw something that looked like a small fire off to his left. Dozens of bonfires had been lit around the county that night by revelers delighted in the new snowfall. But Graham soon decided it wasn't a fire. Downs shined his 1.5 million candle power spotlight on the object, which began to drift back and forth like a balloon as the light washed over it. Then it gradually floated up to the helicopter's elevation of almost 500 feet above the ground, where it hovered for just a few seconds. It then took off at a speed that I've never seen before, said Graham, an experienced pilot. The object made 2 huge counterclockwise loops and finally approached the helicopter's rear. Graham, afraid the object would ram his tail rotor, pushed his speed above 100 miles per hour. The UFO shot past them and instantly climbed hundreds of feet into the air. It descended again and flew close to the helicopter. Graham tried to close the gap with the object, and it gained and it again flew away. As the UFO approached on a parallel course, the 3 fireballs burst out of its core. Scared, Graham banked away from the object. When we came back around, it was gone, Graham said. When the 2 returned to their base, Graham called the control tower at Standiford Field to ask if their radar had spotted anything unusual. It had not. Downs called the county's radio dispatchers to ask if anyone else had reported sightings. No one had, but the 2 did get confirmation from the 2 officers on the ground, one of whom was Smith. I had no idea what it was, Smith said, but his confirmation cheered the 2 flyers. It makes me feel better, Downs said, that there are 2 grown men out there who are sworn to protect this community and who saw the same thing. Now, it's odd that you haven't heard about this case, and I'm most assured that a lot of you haven't. It's got credible witnesses. You know, you have 4 police officers there. It happened in our state of Kentucky, but it just goes to show you that a lot of times people don't talk about UFO sightings. Now, why is that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Everybody's afraid of what people are going to think about them. As you notice in the article, it says that the 2 officers go to church. Why did they feel they had to include that? You know, it goes to their credibility. And I think that that's something that all of us need to take into account. I think there would be more sightings in Kentucky if people felt they were free to divulge what they see. So the next time, if you have a friend who says that they've seen a UFO, or if you yourself have seen a UFO, please write into the show. Let us know. But also, you know, support your friends. Tell them they're not alone. And maybe we can find the truth if it's really out there. Stay vigilant, listeners. Elliott out.
Close my eyes, you're in my head. I can't stop thinking about all those things you said. I should have known it always ends up this way. Those nights alone, thinking about you. I'm sick and tired of playing your fool. Comes down to this, I need an answer today.
Goose and Cronkite. Give the guys a break. They're not that bright.
And welcome back. I'm Cronkite, here to chew bubblegum on WXLR 104.9. And that man sitting across from me is Goose. Goose, it's about time somebody recognized our sheer talent.
Yes, and we hope that the listeners are enjoying the show. Please be sure to reach out to the people at WXLR through email, Facebook message, or even call them and be like, hey, those guys are here to chew bubblegum do a great job.
They're doing stuff over there.
Our show will continue with listener support, so, let them know that you found our show very interesting, intriguing, and that you support us and like Here to Chew Bubblegum on WXLR 104.9.
The X.
Very
much so. And, as you mentioned before, we are a podcast that we started back in November. And, you can listen to us wherever you enjoy podcasts, Here to Chew Bubblegum. We have recently, as in this is the first show, transitioned to terrestrial radio, which is exciting.
Yes, and we'll still be doing the podcast.
Very much so. We also have a YouTube channel.
Yes, and Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter.
Twitter.
We don't have a LinkedIn. We need to start a LinkedIn, I guess.
Okay.
So, but welcome back. We have a mutual friend, Cronkite and I. This person, male or female, was in the military. They do not want to be on the show. They do not want to give their name. So we will keep this person, male or female, totally silent. But this is somebody that we know and trust. Mm-hmm. And we will... In the past, on the podcast, they've emailed us. They've answered questions for us. And we want to share their first email with you, considering it being our first pilot show on WXLR. Now, again, this is somebody with military experience. Mm-hmm. This male or female saw a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And Cronkite is going to read their email. Take it away, Cronkite.
So the insider email, this was the first email that we received from him or her. And it goes a little something like this. I saw some really crazy technology like drone cameras that can see you holding a phone in your hand while thousands of feet above. In Iraq, we had a computer where we can log in and see ourselves drive on the road from drones. Our technology is super advanced, and you know it if you have the right clearance. There's things we have, I wish I could tell you, but I'm just not that brave. In my opinion, anything you think is possible, and we have it. I've only been out for 1 year, and I guarantee it's even more advanced now. I will say that we are always a step ahead of other nations, but we'll never admit it. Our intelligence agencies know everything, like everything. I do believe something was recovered at Roswell, but I just don't know what. And if our government doesn't want us to know something, we won't know. If they want something to leak, they will leak it. They are always one step ahead.
Now, and that person mentioned Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
I am fascinated with Roswell. For you, it's the Rendlesham Forest incident that took place in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much technology, and we talked about this with Eli.
Oh, it's actually Britain.
Britain,
sorry. Not Germany, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, in Europe.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, that's better.
Okay.
I mean, not really, but okay.
Okay.
We'll make it work.
And we talked about it with Eli a little bit. There was so much technology that came after Roswell. There was a transistor. There was Kevlar.
Kevlar?
Kevlar. Caviar came.
Fish eggs come from that dadgum thing that crashed over our walls.
I'm sorry.
Also, Velcro.
Yes.
Velcro came after that.
Your high-speed fiber optics. All this came after Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, and I have read too much, there was not a weather balloon there. There was not dummies inside the weather balloon.
Mm-hmm.
That was alien technology.
I agree.
And that's something that we will talk about on the show later. Roswell is well known. There's a lot of people that know about it. That's why we try not to talk too much about it on our show, but it always seems to seep in some way.
Well, now you've actually traveled to Roswell.
Yes, I have.
What does the town think about it? I mean, is it what are some of the?
Now basically, and this was 2 years ago. Me and my son went. They capitalize on it.
I'm sure the tourism is huge.
On tourism, but we went to the UFO Museum in Roswell, and we spent about probably 2 hours in there. And it's not as big as you think it would be. I mean, it is good size, but for a international UFO museum, it's kind of small. Mm-hmm. But they did have some fascinating things, and they also allegedly had some recovered artifacts that had the strange symbols and numbers and all that stuff on it, and they had that in a special case. And I thought that was fascinating.
Well, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, did you get to talk to any locals there while you were there?
Some.
And what were their take on it? Do they think something actually happened there? Or?
Some of them do. Some of the older ones that were alive during that time have died off.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the new generation, they just, they like there was a guy that worked in the gift shop, and he was talking about how people from all over the world come there, and it really helps their little town. And, he actually thinks something did happen there. Then we also went to the Roswell Airport at that time, and they have a small aviation museum in there, a very small one.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was a military airport, and that's where everything went to, where it was prior to be fluing out to Dayton, Ohio, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. So, and it's just, the town has like this. You can tell, even if you don't know the story of Roswell, you can tell that it has this eerie feel to it.
Very nice.
So, we're going to talk about the Mantell UFO incident that happened 8 months after, or 6 months after, 7 months after Roswell. Now, I know you're familiar with the Mantell UFO incident.
I am.
This took place in Kentucky, our state. For those of you that are not familiar, on January 7th, 1948, 25-year-old Captain Thomas F. Mantell, a Kentucky Air National Guard pilot, died in a crash of his P-51 Mustang near Franklin, Kentucky. Okay, he died because he was in pursuit of an unidentified flying object. What do you think about that so far?
I think it's exciting. Not exciting. It sucks, but
yeah.
It is what it is. The thing is, this is directly after supposedly something crashed in Roswell.
Yes.
This is right after World War II. Tensions are still high, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, he's chasing whatever this thing is to try to figure it out.
Well, in 1956, Air Force Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, and we've talked about him quite a lot, he was the first head of Project Blue Book, wrote that the Mantell crash was one of 3 classic UFO cases in 1948 that would help define the UFO phenomenon in the public mind and would help convince some Air Force intelligence specialists that UFOs are real. So, the story goes that on January 7th, 1948, at the Godman Army Air Force Base in Fort Knox, Kentucky, they received a report from the Kentucky Highway Patrol. Now, that is the modern-day Kentucky State Police. The report was an unusual aerial object near Madisonville, Kentucky. Reports state that the object was 250 to 300 feet in diameter, and they received calls first from Owensboro and Irvington, Kentucky. At 1:45 p.m., Sergeant Quentin Blackwell saw an object from his position in the control tower at Fort Knox. 2 other witnesses in the tower also reported seeing a white object in the distance. Colonel Guy Hicks, the base commander, reported an object he described as a very white and about 1/4 the size of a full moon through binoculars. It appeared to have a red border at the bottom. So there's your lights. Mm-hmm. It's 1:45 in the afternoon, but they still see red at the bottom. Now, you just mentioned briefly in the opening of the show, what we saw in Pikeville, it had multicolored lights. The object remained stationary for an hour and for 1.5 hours. So an hour and a half, this object is stationary over a military base. Well, they put out planes and jets. One of those was piloted by Thomas F. Mantell. He was told to back off because, people in his squadron, there was like 4 that went after him. 3 people backed off, but he didn't. He kept going, and he even reported that, oh my God, I see people in this thing. Mm-hmm. The Mantle Incident was reported by newspapers around the nation and received significant press attention. Ruppelt wrote, I had always heard a lot of wild speculation about the condition of Mantell's crashed UFO, so I wired for a copy of the accident report. Mantell's body had not been burned, had not disintegrated, and was not full of holes, and the wreck was not radioactive, nor was it magnetized. Mantell was the first member of the Kentucky Air National Guard to die in flight. Now, and he was a decorated war hero, mm-hmm. Okay? So he will know the difference between any type of planes that existed at that time.
Absolutely. And weren't the government trying to, I don't know if the government, but whoever tries to block these stories.
Right.
Wasn't the original story supposed to be like, that he was chasing Venus?
Yeah, which is
you have
absurd.
You have 2 different witnesses saying that one says it's a quarter the size of the moon. You have one that says it's 200 to 300 feet in diameter. Venus, you can only see dusk.
Yeah, and it's
1:45 in the day.
Yeah,
I don't buy that.
And it was saw, it was saw in several different places.
Right.
And it came in first. The report came in first to Kentucky Highway Patrol.
Well, no, this should be a very simple. If it was Venus, it should be a very simple thing to determine. You would see it in the sky the next day.
But it was not there.
No, because it wasn't. It's a load of crap.
Now, it's been 5 or 6 years ago that I found out about the Mantell Incident, and I've done more research, and this is still unexplained. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, they have come up with their whitewash stories, but none of them make any sense.
Right.
And this is a guy that, he was born and raised in Kentucky. His plane actually crashed, less than 15 miles from where he was born at. Mm-hmm. And it's a very sad story, because we have one of our fellow Kentuckians that lose their life. But, he chased that UFO. And like I said, he was a decorated pilot. He was very familiar with man-made aircraft mm-hmm. from our country, from other countries. But he kept going. Mm-hmm. Why do you think he kept going? Because what he saw was not from this planet. Now, that is my opinion on it.
Now you're looking at a guy who has nearly 2,200 hours of combat flight time, and I know during World War II, we've talked about this on the previous podcast, but there were Germany was supposedly messing around with UFO type aircraft. Now it's possible that he has saw some of that stuff overseas and is chasing that. Oh, look, it's over Kentucky. We get it, but I doubt it. I doubt that he has ever seen anything like this before, because he chased it to, I think they said 28,000 to 30,000 feet before he finally blacked out from lack of oxygen, and that's the theory of why the aircraft actually crashed. But you're if it's a planet he's chasing after, or whatever, well, he knows what he's looking at.
Yeah, first he's a pilot, and I'm sure that he saw planets before when he's in his aircraft. I don't think he's going to chase after a planet.
No, he's not chasing after a planet. If he even seen people inside of it, or creatures, or whatever, he's chasing after this to get some answers. Now, I'd be interested to see what the control tower person saw when his aircraft got close to this. I mean, does it disappear as the aircraft get closer, or how does that work? Because his report said that it was what did he say? The quarter or 1/4 the size of a full moon, right? Yeah. So if Manfield's craft or airplane is getting close,
not Manfield.
What did I say?
Manfield.
I said Mantell.
Mantell.
That's what I said.
No, not the first time you did. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you embarrassed on the radio.
I'm not embarrassed. I just lost my train of thought now. Anyway, if Mantell's airplane is getting closer to this craft, I would be interested to know what the control towers, what he saw as his P-51 got close to it.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, we're going to talk about really quick the Kentucky Airship mystery. Now, in the first part of the show, we talked about airships that were spotted in the late 1880s. Mm-hmm. On July 29th, 1880, two witnesses in Louisville, Kentucky saw a flying object described as a man surrounded by machinery, which he seemed to be working with his hands, with wings protruding from his back.
I've never heard this one.
Yes. Merely a month later, a similar sighting happened in New Jersey. Both of these stories were written about in the New York Times, and it was apparently a man with bat wings and improved frog's legs. The monster waved his wings in order to answer the whistle of a locomotive.
Huh. Now, is this what turned into the New Jersey Devil? Is this what this one is?
I don't think so. It may have in New Jersey, but it was first spotted
in Kentucky, right?
In Louisville, Kentucky. And two witnesses, said a man surrounded by machinery, which seemed to be working with his hands with wings protruding from his back. So
I've never heard of that one.
Now, balloons were invented in like the mid 1700s. I think like 1735 or 1738.
Right.
So it was not a hot air balloon. Mm-hmm. But I found that really interesting that one of the early airship mysteries took place in Kentucky.
That is pretty wild.
We know from doing our show and from research that, and those of you that are new to the show, Kentucky has a lot of UFO encounters, sightings.
And it's interesting you bring that up, because if you... Man, it's a shame we only have 1 hour. But so here's the thing. If you look at a map of the 37th parallel, and if you don't know what the 37th parallel, I'm sure we'll speak about it at some point. But Kentucky runs, the 37th parallel runs through Kentucky. And also, we have the largest cave system, in the U.S. here, in our state. It runs wherever. But there are a lot of sightings around. If you overlay a map of abductions and sightings onto the cave system, there's a lot of eerie coincidences there. Very, very eerie coincidences.
But we are in a really good spot. Mm-hmm. I'm going to report on this next. And this article was taken from the National Enquirer. And I know what some listeners may be thinking. Oh, he's going to tell a story from a tabloid. Well, in our research and doing the podcast, we have actually found that some of your tabloid papers, not all of them, but some of them, like the National Enquirer, the UK Sun, they report on stuff that has turned out to be real. Now, why do they do that? Because they're not funded or sanctioned by mainstream U.S. media.
Right.
You know, they don't have government control over what these tabloids report. And we've mentioned on the show before, it goes back to the first Men in Black movie. You know, that is really kind of how it is when you see a lot of these stories.
It is.
You know, and some of them that do turn out to be true are from the tabloids. And, you know, then you'll have your news stories, your big stations and papers that will do a little blurb, you know, if it turns out to be true.
Well, and it's because, you know, that you're right. I mean, it's not funded, it's not controlled, it's not whatever by the big media outlets. Plus, if you let me ask you, if you want to keep a secret, you're not going to worry about the tabloids, the people who are just like, oh, you know, Brad and Jenna or whoever broke up again. Who is it? Brad and Angelina or whoever. Anyway, that kind of stuff. You're not going to worry about them because most people don't take them seriously anyway.
Right. Well, in this 1978 National Enquirer article, they did a story on the Bluegrass Triangle incidents. Now, there's several incidents. Central Kentucky was experiencing several incidents in 1978 called a UFO Blitz. What exactly did the Blitz consist of? Again, according to the National Enquirer, one of the incidents involved a pair of Madison County firemen called upon to put out a grass fire that turned out to be a blazing red UFO. They then proceeded to follow the UFO across Richmond in hot pursuit for over an hour. One of the firemen, Robert Murphy, described it as classic saucer-shaped spaceship. Now, you can do additional research on this. And I think it was on Robert Murphy's Facebook page, or it might have been a local TV station or radio station from Madison County. They did a follow-up on this, like in the early 2000s. He says the same exact thing that he did in 1978.
Wow.
So, another case was a preacher and his wife who saw, and I quote, encountered a gigantic, dazzling UFO on their way to church. Elmer Hardy was 73 years old at the time, and he was the pastor of the Bybee United Methodist Church. He said that he was driving to Sunday night service when a UFO approached them head-on and hovered above them. It was only about 10 stories high and 20 stories wide with a zillion lights on it. Hardy is quoted as saying.
That's a lot of lights.
That is a lot of lights. There's another report, but I'm going to read this last one really quick. Another sighting in Irvine, Kentucky, or Irving, that's in the Bluegrass.
All of these places you're talking about.
Bluegrass Triangle incident are in the exact same area.
Within like 20 or 30 miles of each other.
Now, a sighting reported from a Kentucky state trooper named Jim Whitaker. Okay, he spotted a car-sized UFO with red, white, blue, green pulsating lights hovering over a field in Irvine on April 19th in 1978.
Is that not what we saw?
Yes. That is exactly what we saw. Whitaker, a veteran trooper of KSP, he was also a veteran of flying helicopters in the Navy and had over 15,000 hours of flying time. He said the craft definitely was not a helicopter or an airplane. He chased the craft for 2 hours in Estill County one night and made very interesting observations. When an aircraft approached it, the intensity of the lights would die down, and once the aircraft was clear, it would light up again. Now, this article, taken from the National Enquirer in 1978, failed to mention that the Bluegrass Army Depot is located right in the epicenter of the Bluegrass Triangle incidents.
Mm-hmm. And what do they store there? Do you remember?
Nuclear weapons. So, and we've talked about in the past, UFO sightings seemingly, they're near bodies of water or military bases or power plants. So, you have a Kentucky State Trooper who was a retired Navy pilot that knows helicopters and aircraft. He chased this, and he saw this. And this article actually has his picture in his patrol car.
Now, see, here are the things. These are the stories I find the most fascinating. The ones that have these reputable witnesses. A state trooper, a pilot. A
fireman, a preacher.
These are all people, paid, trained observers, but also people who have more to lose than to gain. That's why these stories fascinate me the most, because these are the ones that have a little bit of clout to them.
Yeah. And that's just one of the examples of stuff that is related, and took place in our state. And again, the listeners, you can contact us through call, text, leave a voicemail, area code 606-373-3396, or you can email myself, Goose, at heretochewbubblegum.com, Cronkite at heretochewbubblegum.com. You can email Ned or Elliott at heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com. And again, let the folks here at WXLR know how much that you enjoy Here to Chew Bubblegum. If you didn't enjoy it, keep that to yourself. Don't call or text.
No, don't bring us all down.
But we're going to read. We posted on our Facebook page yesterday. If anybody wanted to comment or also text or email us, that we would be recording our first show today, and it is. I have had a great time. Some of those comments, Gary says, "Congratulations."
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Loki says, "That's big news. My hat's off to you, Goose, Cronkite, Ned, and Elliott, Roswell."
Fernando says, "Here to Chew Bubblegum is ear candy to the extreme."
Here to Chew Bubblegum fan number 4 says, "Great job, guys. Roundtable show was awesome. You've proven yourself time and time again. Bring on the big leagues and eat candy."
Ear candy.
What's eat candy? Listen, I will assure you, I'm going to eat some candy. It doesn't matter.
And you're going to read whatever I put in front of you.
That's exactly right.
Jake says, "Goose, Cronkite, Ned, and Elliott, way to go, guys. I've been a fan since the beginning."
Aaron says, "Bring it to the airways, guys."
Eric says, "Congratulations, and keep the ear candy coming, Roswell."
That's eat candy.
No, ear candy.
Barry says, "Awesome!" Exclamation point. I can't wait, Cronkite.
Tanya says, "My favorite show."
Valerie says, "Hey, here to Chew Bubblegum. That's great. Can't wait to hear it, Roswell." And my last one is Dixon09 says, "Congratulations, guys, Roswell."
And again, we hope you have enjoyed the show. We will be back next week. What are we going to be talking about next week?
Well, next week I've got a couple different things. If you want me to, I can talk about the Rendlesham, the UFO incident, and sometimes called Britain's Roswell.
Yes, I'd like to hear about that.
And also, I come across an interesting movie that I'm going to talk about, because I'm sure if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I've talked about in the past that I feel that everything on this planet is linked. The energies are the same. The energy you can, when your senses, they call that a gut instinct. When your hairs on the back of your neck stand up because you feel like you're in danger or your stomach hurts or whatever, that's everything is linked. So I found this movie called The Secret, and it's basically just willing your own power, I guess. But I haven't watched it yet, so I'm going to watch it, and I'll get back to you guys.
Well, that sounds great to me. Again, you can call, text, or leave a voicemail by calling 606-373-3396. Be sure to check out heretochewbubblegum.com. I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work, CK Uncle Bill, ST3B, and the rest of the guys at Deadpit.com. I also want to give a shout out to the city of Coal Run, Mayor Andrew Scott, Commissioners Big Joe Atkins, Trade Eskins, Beverly Joe Osborne, and Mike Steele. If you're going to shop local, shop the city of Coal Run. And thank you all for tuning in. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
We'll see.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.